I'm taking a nap in the middle of my day because I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I don't usually take naps. I have like a thing against naps because usually I don't feel better after a nap. Usually I feel worse. I feel like groggy and unhappy. So I don't take naps. But today I'm taking a nap because I just needed to shut off my brain, and I knew/know that I need to get out of bed again to finish off the rest of my day. Do everything under the sun, probably. I don't know. Being in school right now and being like very dedicated to getting like the best grades I possibly can, which is like hard. But I also just proved to myself that I can get really good grades across the board. But anyway, what am I doing? I'm bragging a little bit. I'm like, I get great grades. Not like that like translates to anything significant to anybody else's life other than just like my ego and being like, I'm doing school good. I'm doing school so good. It's like, fine, okay. But anyway, yeah. So because I am so dedicated to being a good student, it takes up a lot of my like cramming information into my brain time, which is like so much energy and time. And yeah, it takes up a lot of time and energy, and it means that I learn about a lot of really fascinating things that make me like things. Like I like the things that I learn. Sometimes I hate the things that I learn, but we're not going to get into that. But like one of the things that I really like that I'm learning right now is that in my geography of travel and tourism class, we were focusing on Central America. So I watched a couple different documentaries on Mexico, and just like learned so many things about Mexico, and just like, yeah, about the cultural geography and physical geography and the religions. And I was gonna be like the language is fucking Spanish, obviously, but there's like 12 different indigenous languages that are spoken today by it's like 20,000 people maybe. I don't know, I don't quote me on that number, but Mexico is so cool and it's so pretty. And one of my like assignments is to basically like plan a trip to anywhere in Central America. I could have chosen like, the Bahamas or Jamaica or Cuba or Mexico, and I chose Mexico. I was like, you know what? I want to learn so much more about Mexico. I think it's so cool. Such like a fucking cool, like, I know I'm like, I don't know, I don't want to like romanticize a place because I know it's got its problems, just like anywhere it does, but it's just like, damn, Mexico's really cool, and like, I want to go. I want to go so badly. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh, but on like, so one of the like in this exercise that we do for geography of travel and tourism, you have to plan a trip as if you were actually going to go to Mexico. So you need to figure out your plane tickets, figure out like what days are you going to go, what time of year do you want to go, when is peak tourism of Mexico. So specifically I said that I was going to fly into Mexico City, which is obviously like the capital of Mexico. It used to be in the province/district that was known as Federal District O. I'm such a piece of shit. But it's not called that anymore. It's called, there's an acronym that I think is like CMC. It basically just translates to like Mexico City. But it's in Spanish, and I really want to learn Spanish now because I want to go to Mexico, so I need to learn Spanish, obviously, and like lots of people speak Spanish around where I live, so yeah, that and sign language. Those are my two languages that I should learn because they're frequently used in my vicinity. I don't know. So anyway, I have a thing that I'm getting to. One of the questions is you have to like look up what are some of the customs and like what are some tips and hints of like things to know before you go to your destination. Like yeah, whether it be like things that are signs of respect in the culture that you are going to, or you know how to not accidentally be disrespectful, and yeah, maybe just like some unique rules or regulations that you might not know about unless you fucking research it. And so it led me to, so in my Googling, I Googled like a whole bunch of different things. One of the things I found was like that, and I love this. I'm like, hell yeah, because someone was saying this to me. A friend of mine said to me that he doesn't think that human beings have caught up to the clock yet. That like we're not supposed to be doing like time the way that we're doing it and like showing up to an exact minute on the dot to be somewhere or to do something on a fucking schedule. Like we're not supposed to be doing that. But that's the way that we fucking structured our society. And so like it's so many things are built in to at least like New York American culture of like we just expect that people are in a rush to get somewhere, that people are living on the clock by a schedule, and that like we're just supposed to assume that everybody's always in a rush. So you never like here the custom is to like you never want to hog somebody's ear for too long. You know, the waiter or the waitress is going to bring you a check without you having to ask about it, because once they notice that you're done with your meal they say, oh, do you want dessert? No? All right, I'll bring you the check then. And like that is good service. Here it's like, yeah, it's like here you don't have to ask for the check. Like the check's gonna be brought to you as soon as you see that you're done with your food and like whatever. And we don't usually like perceive that as, oh, we're being rushed or anything like that, because you know, I don't know, if we want to get out of here we will. And sometimes people stick around after their meals and talk for a while, but a lot of times people eat their food, maybe they chat for a few more minutes and then they get out of there. And that's kind of how we do it, at least in my experience of American culture. But in Mexico I thought this was great. Lateness is treated with graciousness, and they don't really care if you like just get to the place that you said you're gonna meet like around this time. And you know, they once you get to that restaurant and you start talking and chatting, like you're not hogging anybody's ear, you know, because they have somewhere to go. It's like no, like conversations take time. And so like eating a meal takes time. And so like when you're at a restaurant and you're eating, you're chatting and all these good things, like the waiter is not, or your server, I don't, what is the gender neutral term? I don't know. Server, I guess, is going to not bring you the check until you explicitly ask for it, because if they bring it to you before you've asked for it, it could be seen as like they're trying to rush you and get you out of there, which would be impolite. So they don't do that, from what I was reading. Yeah, so I thought that was like, oh, cool, okay. But another thing that I came across in my reading, because some of the things, I think the thing that I Googled was like American etiquette in Mexico. Like I explicitly wanted to find like, okay, what are some things that American tourists tend to do in Mexico City that is just rude, that like just Americans tend to make these fucking like taboo mistakes or something like that. So I think that I Googled something along the lines of like American etiquette or like something like that in Mexico. Like, and of course, like one of them was like, learn Spanish, learn the fucking language. Don't fucking rely on people who kind of maybe understand some English words and, you know, like, no, just learn fucking Spanish. Like, enough. Learn something. And, so yeah, that's another one. But, okay, no. The article that I came across that I thought was interesting was this person who lives in like a rural town somewhere near Mexico City, but not in Mexico City. But she was talking about how she has this memory from when she was, it happened sometime in the early 2000s, so I don't know how old she would have been, but it was like 20 years ago. She was standing in her front yard with like a family member, and a white American man in a truck stops in front of their house and gets out, and he says to them, any houses around here for sale? And at first they just kind of like looked at him, and they're just like, what the fuck? Because I guess it, like something else had kind of happened in there where he did something that was like weirdly presumptuous. I mean, maybe it's just the fact that he like stopped in front of their house. Like, I don't remember what it was. But they took like a pause, and then they answered him, no, no houses around here are for sale. And he was like, dang, I'm just going all over these rural areas trying to find, like, I just want to get a good house on a field. He seemingly started rambling without like being asked. He's like, I'm from this area of California in the United States, and it's just too expensive, and there's too many goddamn fucking people, and the politics are just ridiculous, and everything's politicized in America, and I just want to get out of there. I just want to come to Mexico, to retire, and, the cost of living is so much lower, and all these things. I guess he just, like, had this attitude or air about him of, like, entitlement, obviously, and, like, his presence was obviously wanted and desired, like, and I guess it's like the point of the woman writing this like article was basically like, fucking Americans coming to fucking like moving to Mexico thinking that their presence is like the presence of a celebrity, like that they have like this holy fucking social hierarchy of thinking that they are better because Americans just think that the world belongs to them, whether or not they are in the United States of America. And, yeah, and she's basically just describing an attitude that she has gotten from, expats from America who treat Mexico as if it's just like, first of all, as if like they're like, it's the hypocrisy in all of this is like really like pugnant. I think because like these same Americans who think that their presence is going to be so like wanted, I guess, in Mexico, when like they're not like explicitly wanted, like, and like vice versa, the attitude of these same kinds of American people when it comes to Mexican immigrants coming to the United States of America. Like, obviously, we know that so many Americans are just fucking hostile and assholes towards immigrants, with just like this fucking rhetoric and narrative about jobs being stolen and the economy and blaming it on people who come from other countries, but like explicitly and racistly Mexico. And so just like it's these kinds of Americans have a reputation in Mexico as being assholes. And then these Americans come to Mexico for the low cost of living and like the beautiful climate, and the terrain is amazing, and the culture is rich and beautiful, and all of these things. And they just expect to be welcomed with open arms when they don't do the same when it comes to their country, or the country from whence they came. Yeah, so that was a part of my reading last night. Oh, what am I trying to say? I guess, I mean, part of this, like the amazing thing with geography and immigration, emigration, migration of people from and to places, and whether they're just traveling and touring or whether they are like moving to stay for an extended period of time. Like migration is just something that humans have always done. Like whether it be for just seeing what's out there, whether it be because you are fleeing from something horrific, or you're looking for better opportunities, or you're leaving for love. I don't know. Yeah, migration has always happened, and political boundaries as we know them today are such a recent thing, and we're trying to fit so much of human instinct into these borders that we've drawn. And like, you want to talk about the politicization of things that shouldn't be politicized. I would put migration up there. I would put humans moving around to like just going from place to place. I'd say that is overly politicized. Which brings me to the fertility rate. So stupid. This is such a conservative talking point that, and okay, so here's the truth is that Americans as a whole are not having babies at replacement level. Like, it would take like 2.1, I think, is like the random ass like average mean statistic figure. Like 2.1 children is the amount of children that every family would be having in order to increase, or not increase, but like keep the population at a steady rate that's not really growing but not shrinking. And American people are not having babies at that rate. I mean, I can speak from experience. I haven't had a single baby, and I don't really want to. I don't plan on it. And lots of people who could have babies, who are of baby creating age, are not having babies. And or people who are having babies are just having fewer of them. They're having like one or two or maybe three. And that's it. Like, they're not having 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 babies like they were at some fucking point in the past. I don't fucking know. But that's like a thing that happens not just in the United States. It's happening in Canada and Denmark and South Korea, China, even India. like they're like India's fertility rate is down from what it used to be. And yeah, specifically in India and in China, infamously, China's one child policy, it's very, it's easier for a government to restrict the number of babies that its population is having successfully. But it is much harder for a government to incentivize people to have more babies if they don't want to have those babies. Like, people who don't want to have lots of children just don't want to do it. And our values as a culture have shifted to the point where, yeah, we just have other priorities now in more affluent countries, I guess you could say, where women have more rights. That's a big one. And yeah, people just would rather do other things with their life than have 10 children. Maybe one or two, it fits into the vision that they had for their life. But also increasingly, 0 children fits into the vision of what people have envisioned. And yeah, that is largely due to increased rights for women and reproductive health care. When women have more rights, they have the ability to seek higher paying jobs and get an higher education, or just a fucking education at all. They, yeah, tend to prioritize that, especially when having even just one baby comes at the cost of your career being stalled, maybe never taking off in the first place, not being able to pursue higher education, or maybe just choosing to have a baby later on in life when you're more financially stable, but then you're just going to have less babies. And teenage pregnancy is down, which is a feat that we fought for. We wanted teenage pregnancy to not be such a fucking big deal, because it was causing impoverished, already marginalized families and communities to be even more debilitated by having, another mouth to take care of, needing to seek more resources when they were already living in resource scarcity, because people who are less affluent don't have reliable access to birth control or abortion. And so, yeah, an unwanted pregnancy for a teenager is really fucking shitty. And so it is good for human rights and for just like the goodness of society for young girls to not be getting pregnant. And yet, in states like Alabama, now that their teen pregnancy rates are lower than they had been in 20 years, they're saying that's a problem because it's making their overall fertility rate to be lower, which means that they don't have as many homegrown babies to indoctrinate into a specific ideology. I'll leave that to you to figure out, whatever that ideology may be that they have going on in fucking Alabama and Mississippi. Yeah, so where am I going with this? Yeah, so they want to get teen pregnancy to be on the rise again in these places so that they can have more babies. Specifically, and this is the quiet part, out loud, although increasingly it's becoming the out loud part out loud, they want white babies. So yeah, more white babies, please, born and raised in the USA. We don't want babies of different colors from other countries than the USA coming over here. Why? I don't know. It's I don't know. We're denying that it's racism. So I don't know what reason there would be for that other than racism, because here's the thing is that, like, yeah, the population of the United States is not replacing itself if we only rely on the people who are already here to make the babies, which will be a big problem, like a big fucking socioeconomic problem. Already right now it is, and it'll just become a bigger problem in 10, 20, 30 years, because we will not have as many young people proportionate to the amount of very elderly people that we have. And elderly people retire and don't work anymore, and then eventually they face lots of times debilitating health outcomes, which leads them to die, because people die, people get old and they die. And usually they have, a lot of times, have poor health before they die. So other people need to take care of them. So who are those other people? Younger people. But wait, fuck, we don't have as many young people as we used to, so there's not enough people to take care of all the older people. Because yeah, our population growth stagnated and then actually dropped. And there are things that could be done about this that don't involve growing the population, because we already have a lot of bullshit jobs that just don't need to be fucking done. We could completely restructure society to get rid of those bullshit jobs. That would be a fucking great idea. To do that, like fucking, I don't know, AI development. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't like AI, but some people that I like and respect say that AI has potential to be a good tool for humanity. So I don't know. I say fuck that shit, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but whatever. What I'm trying to say is, yeah, maybe we don't need to have same day Amazon delivery, and maybe we also don't need to have like fucking 24-hour 7-day a week access to like McDonald's and, you know, just like all of the ways in which we just do the most. We just do way too much because we're all about like convenience. Is like maybe we could sacrifice a little bit of convenience, just a little bit, so that we can allocate the labor of all of us in a more efficient and appropriate way, so that when there starts being fewer of us, that's not such a fucking problem. But at any rate, I understand that's a really big deal to completely restructure the economy in that way. So maybe to supplement that as well, and also just like keep migration as being the thing that humans instinctively just like doing and should do. Immigration, that's a way for our population to grow without women having to lose their rights and teenagers having to fucking be barefoot and pregnant at 16 years old. And people don't need to push out fucking 10 babies by the time they're 30. Because that would be fucking bullshit. And women are choosing not to do that, probably because it's hard to have 10 babies. That's like a really difficult and terrible expectation to have of any person at all. Even having one or two babies is kind of not something I think that we should have an expectation to place on anybody, because I don't want to have one or two babies. I don't want to have any. Please don't expect me to. Yeah. So it's just not a priority for people to have babies. But for some people, it is still a priority to have babies, and that's cool. Good for them. Different strokes for different folks, I guess. But yeah, so how are we going to deal with this fertility rate thing? Yeah, let people, human beings, have the free migration of the planet that they have always had. And that will keep the economy standing up on all of our shoulders, including the new people. Like, it's like a pretty basic fucking thing. Yeah. But that's not what the incoming administration thinks or wants. Instead, their idea is that dystopian thing that I was talking about, where they do literally force women, and their first target of what kind of woman they want to make have babies is girls, is teenage girls who are not women, because a woman is an adult and teenagers are children. But yeah, of course, they got their eye on a target of exactly the kind of vulnerable human being that they want to start having these babies, and it is literally teenage girls. Yeah. So that's part of the fucking plan, is to make teenage pregnancies a thing again. And also, yeah, just make it so that everybody who gets accidentally pregnant in an unwanted way or raped, it's like fucking, sorry, trigger warning, should have said that first, I guess, I don't fucking know. Yeah, just make all of the women have babies, all of the women, well, with some exceptions, all of the white women have babies. Well, you know, that's like the fucked up thing about Planned Parenthood's origins, actually, is that Planned Parenthood was originally an institution for making women of color not have as many babies because eugenics. Isn't that super fucked up? I mean, like, that's not their agenda anymore, or at least, like, not... I don't know, I nowadays I think Planned Parenthood is basically a force for good, but they definitely didn't start out as a force for good. I'm talking like at the beginning of the 20th century, like fucking like well over 60 years ago. But yeah, still. So what I'm saying is yeah, what the fuck? But this whole fertility rate thing, like, that definitely ties in with their idea of how and how it is the how it is the why, I should say, not the how. It is the why of why they don't want women to have rights, is because women who don't have rights have more babies, and more babies is more working hands, and that's what they want. So, like, is it because they hate women? Kind of. But, like, more so, it's a fucking, it's a power thing. It's a power thing that's based in more working people. Yep. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of like the thing is, even if you convince some of these people that being a misogynist is a bad thing and that women deserve rights because they're human beings, and the right to have or not have a child is a pretty big fucking deal, because not only is it the carrying and growing of the child and like the like not insignificant risk of dying if something goes wrong with the pregnancy, and just like, yeah, all of that psychological trauma that can come with that, and the physical trauma that comes with that. Not only that, but also the burden, or at least responsibility, of the majority of the child care is still in the hands of women. Like, this was a thing in South Korea, when they and are still trying to incentivize young people, young adults, to have children. One of the incentives that they put in place was paternal leave on top of maternity leave, paternity leave. So fathers could take off time at the beginning of the baby's life too. But the thing is the dads weren't fucking doing it. They had the option, but most of them weren't, because it's not expected of them culturally. And that's a thing here too. I'm not saying that's all fathers. I know a lot of great, great men who, if and when, and some of them already have had babies, I do plan on or have already done a lot of the caretaking for children. But like, that's not culturally where the United States of America is at. It's like the burden of raising children still falls on women, and that is fucking exhausting. So this is why it's hard to incentivize people to have babies, is because having a baby is just really, really hard. It's just hard work, and women don't get enough support. And the conservative fascist solution to that is not to give more support, which, I mean, granted, based off of South Korea, the support, whether or not you incentivize having a baby, people might still choose not to have babies, because, like I said, it's really hard to get lots of people en masse to have babies. You certainly couldn't convince me. You could not incentivize me. So yeah, it's really hard to incentivize people who just don't want to have a kid to have a kid. Like, that's just like a really big life decision. You can't make somebody do it unless you do make them do it. And this is why people are talking about the fucking Handmaid's Tale all the time right now. And like, yeah, that is kind of the idea, if not the plan. We don't just want immigrants. Like, let's just bring in the fucking immigrants. I'm pissed. I like haven't even touched on antinatalism or pronatalism, or just natalism in general. Like, I haven't even done like the philosophy side of this. This is just fucking geographic economics, economic geography. I fucking love that class. I want to be an economic geographer, honestly. It's so fucking cool and interesting. It's the best. Okay, I've been talking for like 40 minutes now. I'm gonna go. But yeah. I hope that we are all figuring out how to find some internal peace. I would recommend, if you're tired, to lie down in your bed if you can. But if you're tired and you can't lie down in your bed, maybe just smoke a cigarette. I don't know.